Hello and welcome to the interview here on France 24. An Afghanistan that is at peace and lives in peace with the rest of the world. Now that is the vision that my guest today, Zalmay Rasool, Afghanistan's foreign minister, laid out to the world when he addressed the United Nations General Assembly last month on behalf of his country's president, Hamid Karzai. Now, the UN speech came just 10 days after an unidentified attacker killed the leader of the country's High Peace Council. It was an assassination that was seen as a giant blow to Afghanistan's efforts to seek reconciliation with insurgents, namely the Taliban. But my guest today says that the reconciliation process will continue despite all the challenges. Thank you for joining me today, sir.
My pleasure.
I'd like to start with what is clearly an uphill battle. Afghanistan has lost the man who is seen as the one person who had the authority to try to seek peace with the Taliban. There's a great void right now. How are the efforts going? How is reconciliation possible if there's really no one right now to speak to or to make the peace?
First of all, I think that the assassination of President Rabbani was a major tragedy for Afghanistan and for the peace process. But it doesn't mean that peace process is going to be stopped after that. That showed that there are enemies, very serious enemies for peace process that has done this act, horrible act. What has changed that we are going to change the mechanism through which we are going to proceed on the peace process.
When you say change the mechanism, I assume that you're going to be talking to different people. Until now, your president has been saying that he wanted to talk to the Taliban. And he's suggested a change in tactics.
Yes, because anytime we try to talk to the Taliban, we didn't know to whom to talk, number one. And the leadership of the Taliban, those who we can talk, are not in Afghanistan, they are in Pakistan. So we need more and more, we understand we need a full support and cooperation of Pakistan in order to reach these people and to talk to them. So the president had decided that because we don't have any address to talk to the Taliban, we need to talk directly to Pakistan.
Okay, now, I understand that, but that raises another question. So who does he speak to in Pakistan? Because for its part, Pakistan is denying that it is supporting any of these insurgents or any of these terrorists. So who are you going to there?
You know that we have created a joint peace commission with Pakistan about 2 months ago, headed by our president and their prime minister. There we agreed to continue to jointly to work together in order to bring and talk with the Taliban. This peace process this peace council has been created. We have several meetings after that at a lower level, but unfortunately, yet they have not delivered the expectation that we have had.
Who do you think it is in Pakistan, if you had to be specific, that is most supporting these insurgents and the terrorists who operate across the border between
Definitely, there are elements within Pakistan, the institution, who support that, but we are talking to the Pakistan government as our interlocutor, the civilian government, but also with the military intelligence that they are really more closely in charge of this process.
So when the outgoing U.S. Army Chief of Staff, Mr. Mullen, he said that it was actually the Pakistani intelligence agency, the ISI, that was basically supporting all of these networks. You agree with that assessment?
I agree. There are elements within the Pakistan institution. They are supporting this network. And so we need to talk to them, number one, to cooperate together in order to defeat the terrorism and extremism, which is also a very important issue for Pakistan too. It's not only Afghanistan, it's the benefit Pakistan too. But at the same time, on the peace process, the political process, we need to work with them. And we need to have their agreement in order that we can reach those people and talk to them. We are in their territory, and they cannot talk without their agreement with us.
Changing topics a little, the U.S. and NATO troops have begun preparing their withdrawal. Mm-hmm. They're aiming for 2014 to be out of the country. You can argue the Taliban has not gone away. It's still shown it's very much able to attack when and where it wants. How scared are you of the situation that will arise once all the troops are gone?
First of all, I believe that militarily speaking, the Taliban has been defeated. What's happening now, if you take in consideration the large attack and control of the area in
But they continue to attack. We saw the U.S. embassy.
One is the military. I'm saying military speaking. But they are now changing the tactics because of that. They are having resources to the suicidal attack, bombing, spectacular attack. killing and assassination of personalities in Afghanistan in order to disturb the peace process.
It's working, though, isn't it, that strategy? Many people are very, very afraid of the situation.
Yes, I'm not saying that's not working. I said the change of strategy, militarily they cannot do as much as they wanted. Now they're having access to this kind of operation, which are targeted in or are formed and instructed outside Afghanistan. And there's another issue that we are talking with Pakistan, the issue to work together to stop the organization of this mechanism outside.
They train outside of Afghanistan, but they are launching their attacks within Afghanistan.
Of course.
The Afghan army itself is now being trained by NATO and the U.S.
Yes.
Many say they are nowhere near ready to defend Afghanistan on their own.
I say yes. Many says no, I say yes. We are not ready as much as we wanted to be, but by 2014 they should be ready, and we are aiming for that. By 2014, the transition should be succeed. It should be irreversible. It's good for Afghanistan. It's good for international community. What you ask from international community to continue supporting us by training and equipping our national security forces, and continuing to do it after their force withdraw from 2014 until 2024.
Well, it's interesting because I was speaking to the commander of the training mission, the U.S. commander, William Caldwell, last week, and he was telling me that they will be handing over to Indian trainers. Afghanistan has reached an accord, apparently, with India to train and equip the Afghan army. I imagine Pakistan is not too happy with that.
First of all, it's not only the Indian. We just signed a strategic agreement with India for the first time. The Indian is going to train some of our officers and others. But the main trainer for Afghan National Security Forces is going to be the NATO members, with whom we are going to work for a long-term strategic partnership. With the United States first, that we are working on that. With NATO, but the first agreement has been signed in Lisbon Conference and going to be finalized. Which shape of cooperation Afghanistan and NATO will have, the kind of partnership Afghanistan and NATO will have, and after 2014, which is going to be finalized in the Chicago summit of NATO in 2012. But also we are in discussion with France and UK.
Right now, we're looking at a scenario still a couple of years down the road. As of today, the government, your government, and Karzai as president, you control a very, very small part of Afghanistan. You control Kabul and certain other areas. In other areas, the Taliban really has control. That's very worrying.
First of all, I do not agree with you that the majority of Afghanistan is not controlled by Afghan forces. There are areas, and I can show you if you want.
There are areas where it's not safe.
They're not safe, definitely. For example, before the surge, half of Helmand province, which the British forces are there, was out of control. Now, totally Helmand is controlled, but there are pockets in area which are not controlled. The only area which we have problems is the eastern part of Afghanistan in Kunar and Nuristan Valley. But the rest, we have governor, we have sub-governor, we have chief of police everywhere.
You feel safe you would feel safe traveling through most parts of Afghanistan, including the north, the east?
The north, we safe. Central Afghanistan, safe. Western Afghanistan, safe. Part of southern Afghanistan, East Afghanistan, not safe. Not being safe doesn't mean that you're not controlling it.
Right now, today, I mean, we're talking about the security situation, but the government itself is seen as, has been accused of being very weak, very corrupt, that President Karzai has lost a lot of allies, and he only survives thanks to United States backing. Are his days in power numbered?
Unfortunately, I do not agree with you again. First of all...
you don't agree with the fact that there is a lot of corruption right now?
No, I agree there is corruption. Corruption is not something that's created today. Corruption is the consequences of the post-conflict country which has been at war for 30 years, without any institution, without any army, without systems. There is no doubt that the billions of dollars that has been put in Afghanistan, in which only 20% is in control of the Afghan government, and 80% is spent by our allies, created all of the source of corruption.
So you're saying you're not seeing the money? You're not seeing a lot of the money?
You're not in control of that. You know, only 20% of billions of dollars has been helped to Afghanistan in the last 10 years, has been given to the Afghan government to spend it. And you are responsible and you are accountable for that 20% that's given to us. But for 80% that you are not in control, are not responsible for accountability. It doesn't mean that there is no corruption. In order to fight corruption, you need an institution to fight it, just not talking. Institution means that you have a police force which is accountable, which is not corrupt, which is professional, which with your help you are building it. You are starting the best shape. It's not perfect yet, But you need also judicial institution which can deliver that. So in both parts, we are making progress. The institution to fight corruption is in place. The fight against corruption has started. Dozen and dozen of people are in the jail every day. We are following it, but it is a long process that needs to be sorted out.
We're running out of time, and I would like to ask you, ends with the relationship right now with the United States. It's been a tense relationship. I think that's probably indisputable in many respects. Hamid Karzai recently said that he was very angry at the United States for the nighttime raids into Afghan homes. He wants that to stop. The U.S. says that they need to do that to track down insurgents. Where does that whole issue stand right now? How are they resolving that?
First of all, the tension between Afghanistan and the United States is a tension between friends. So we are allies and we are friends, but you have tension on issues which benefit both sides. On the issue of the night raids and the issue of prisons in Afghanistan, we are working with the United States because it's going to be part of strategic partnership that we are working on that. We have made a lot of progress, and I'm confident that soon we'll solve in this partner in order to be ready to sign the strategic partnership.
And very, very briefly, we are out of time. Do you want to see a U.S. presence, however limited, in Afghanistan after 2014?
We are working on that. That's a presence of partnership in Afghanistan in order that the sovereignty of Afghanistan fully should be respected.
Zalmay Rasool, Afghan Foreign Minister, thank you very much for your time today and sharing your views with us here at France 24. Thanks to all of you for watching the interview.